Have you ever started a job and within like 3 months, you just knew you made a terrible mistake? You don't hate the work. The pay is fine, but something feels off. You feel invisible, like you're just a butt in a seat. Here's a wild stat. 1 in 3 new hires quits within 6 months. 1 in 3. And most of them don't quit because of the money. They quit because they felt like a ghost, like nobody actually cared if they existed. We all know who's supposed to fix that feeling, right? Human resources, HR. But if you're like me, you have no idea what they actually do all day. You just know that when you see them, you smile. You say, "Good morning," real polite, because you know they could end you, or at least end your career. We all have this picture of HR in our heads. They're the ones who plan the pizza parties. They send out the awkward, "Happy birthday, Karen," and they're the ones who walk you out of the building with a cardboard box when you get fired. We kind of think of them as the fun police, or, the nice people who are secretly recording everything you say. But here's the thing. I figured out that totally changed how I see them. HR is not about you. Wait, let me explain. I used to think HR was there to protect me. Like if a manager was being a jerk, I could go to HR and they'd fix it. They'd save me. But that's not it at all. HR has one job: protect the company. That's it. That's the whole thing. They aren't there to be your mom. They aren't there to be your therapist. They're there to make sure the company doesn't get sued, don't lose money, doesn't look bad in the news. Let me give you a little history lesson real quick. Back in the old days, like 1800s factory days, there was no HR. If you got hurt at work, they just threw you out and hired someone else. Nobody cared. You were basically a replaceable machine part with feelings. But then workers started fighting back. Unions happened, laws happened, and factory owners got scared because suddenly, if a worker got hurt, the owner could lose everything in a lawsuit. So they created the personnel department, and that department, it wasn't for the workers. It was a shield for the owners. It was a buffer, a middleman. And honestly, not much has changed since then. So let me break down what HR actually does, and I'm going to simplify it into 3 things. 1, they manage risk. 2, they manage feelings. 3, they manage the story. Let's start with number 1. Okay, put yourself in the CEO's shoes for a second. What keeps you up at night? Is it a competitor? Maybe. But honestly, it's the fear of a lawsuit. 1 sexual harassment claim. 1 discrimination lawsuit. 1 bad PR disaster. And boom, millions of dollars are gone. Reputation destroyed. Stock price in the toilet. In 2019, a major tech company paid $69 million to settle a discrimination case. $69 million just to make it go away. Here's another one. In 2022, a well-known retail company had to pay over $10 million because they asked job applicants about their salary history. $10 million for asking a question. And that question, it's illegal in some states now. HR is the wall between the company and that kind of disaster. So when you go to HR and complain about your boss being rude, they hear you, they nod, they say, "I understand." But in their head, they're thinking, "This manager is a liability. We need to document this before we get sued." Yeah, you're not a victim to them. You're a data point. This is where it gets sneaky. You know when HR asks you to sign something, like a performance review or a warning letter? They're not asking for your opinion. They're building a paper trail. They're creating the file. And that file is their weapon, their shield, their insurance. If you ever try to sue them, they can pull out that paper and say, "See, they agreed." Number 2, feelings. Have you noticed HR people are usually really nice, like kind of annoyingly nice? They use soft voices. They say things like, "I hear you, your well-being matters." And look, I'm not saying they're fake. I think a lot of them genuinely care. But here's what they're actually doing. They're listening to you to figure out what you're going to do. Are you angry? Are you going to quit? Are you going to badmouth the company on LinkedIn? Are you going to cause a scene? They're like a parent who asks, "What's wrong?" just to see if you're about to throw a tantrum in the grocery store. They don't want to fix your childhood trauma. They want to make sure you don't break anything expensive. And that brings us to number 3, the story. You know those mission statements? We value our people. Our employees are our greatest asset. Blah, blah, blah. Who do you think writes that? HR. When a company is laying off thousands of people, they don't say, "We're firing you." They say, "We're right-sizing," or "restructuring for future growth," or "synergizing our workforce." That's HR. They take the cold, ugly business decision, like we're broke and we need to cut costs, and they translate it into something that doesn't sound totally heartless. They're the masters of spin. In 2024 alone, over 600,000 tech workers were laid off globally, and almost every single one of them got an email that said something like, "We are restructuring to align with our future vision." Translation, we ran out of money. Good luck. Yeah, it's brutal, but that's the job. Before you think I'm hating on HR, I'm not. Honestly, I feel for them. Imagine this. You're the HR person. You wake up every day and you're walking a tightrope. On one side, the boss screaming at you to cut costs. On the other side, the employees screaming at you for better pay. And below you, the law, the government. All the rules that say if you mess up, you could go to jail. And the good ones, the really good HR people, they actually fight for you behind the scenes. They push for that raise. They whisper in the CEO's ear, if we don't give them a little more, we're going to lose them, and it'll cost us twice as much to hire someone new. They're trying to be the conscience of a company that often doesn't have one, but they have one hand tied behind their back. So what does this mean for you? It means you need to stop treating HR like your parents. They are not there to save you. They're there to manage you. If you go to them just to vent, they're going to see you as a risk. But if you go to them with a solution, with a business reason, don't say, my boss is mean. Say, this behavior is hurting the team's productivity and we're losing good people. See the difference? One sounds like a complaint. The other sounds like a business problem that needs fixing. And fixing business problems? That's HR's actual job. So, next time you see the HR person organizing a potluck or sending out a birthday email, just remember, they're not the fun police. They're not your therapist. They're not your enemy either. They're the people who have to choose between doing what's right and doing what's legal. And in the corporate world, the law usually wins. But now, you know the game, you know the rules, and that puts you ahead of the game. All right, that's the secret. Go use it.